Okay, let's get started now. So now let's assume that you have installed the SQL Server and SSMS. SSMS is a very developer friendly. So that is where we write the SQL query, everything. It offers the code completion facility and so on. Hence, the SSMS is very, very popular amongst the developers. And across the globe, everyone started using SSMS. Look here, how do I invoke the SSMS? Let's say you install SSMS everything. Go to the start button, SSMS, you just type it. You'll find this icon. If you click on it, it will get open something like this. Okay. But it will take time to open it up. Okay. You have to have a lot of patience. Okay. And then server type is database engine. Server name. Look here, it automatically picks up this one. And authentication, you don't do anything. Don't do anything. Simply hit the connect button. That's it. Now it is connecting to SQL Server. Okay, what is the next thing? I just go here. At the time being, in the meanwhile, smartly let us start the Power BI desktop. The Power BI desktop also takes longer time to launch. First time, okay. So I'm using SSMS. It's kind of a front end using which I'm going to connect to the backend SQL Server. Now, I just hit the connect button. It is establishing a connection with my backend SQL Server. We have to wait for some time. The first step is you need to install the SQL Server and then you install SSMS. Okay, fine. Now it got connected successfully to my SQL Server. So this is called your Object Explorer in your SSMS. Okay, and this is the basic thing you should be knowing it, Object Explorer. And just beneath that, you will find the databases. Next to the database, you will find the plus icon. If you click on the plus icon, it will get expanded. Please wait for some time. When you see the circle kind of thing, right, just above the cursor, that means it is in progress. You need to wait. Yes, it got expanded after much time. Okay. And here you can see that a lot of databases are there. These databases were created earlier for the other batches. Now, what I will do is I'll click on the databases icon here, and then I right click on it. I'm going to create a new database. So I just right click on it and click on the new database. Yeah, Deepika's question is, do we need to create databases? Yes, you have to create a database, but in the real-time scenario, once you get into a development project, you don't have to create the databases. It is admin's responsibility, database administrator's responsibility. You will not have any access to create the database or drop the database, modify the database. It is completely database administrator's responsibility. But in your case, in your laptop, you need to practice this one. For that purpose, you should be knowing how to create the database. For that reason only, I'm creating the database. Let's wait for some time. Power BI, still it is loading anyhow. We are not going to start with the look here. Now it is trying to open that window. It is very slow. Maybe in your system it will be faster because I opened many things. Look here, I'm going to, what happened to that one? Okay, something went wrong. I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to select the new database once again. Yes, it got open now. The database name, can you see here? 1 second, I will just, yeah, it is hidden behind this one. Sometimes, right, you need to click on this one. Sometimes when you right click on it, it will not appear here. You may have to, move this down here. Okay, so that even if this get hidden just behind here, you can see that. Okay, and here I'm going to give the demo retail database, or I'll just demo detail DB. I'll just give that way. And I mentioned about the database name here. And the next one is you need to simply hit the OK button at the bottom. Okay, don't do anything beyond that. 1 second, I'll just clear this. So this is where I type the database name. And the next thing is you need to hit the OK button. That's all. Okay, don't do anything else. And hit OK. It will take for a while to create the database. So this one already got open and it was hiding behind. Look here. Now we can see that a new database got created here. Demo Retail DB. Can you see that? A new database got created. Very good. Step 1, you need to launch the SQL Server Management Studio, SSMS. This is the front end for your backend SQL Server. And the step 2, you just expanded the databases. The next to the database, you expanded that one. And you can see that in your case, you will not find any databases. You need to click on this, right click on the new database. You specify the database name and then hit OK and wait for a while. After a while, you will find the database something. If you cannot find it even after, hitting the OK button, you need to click on the refresh icon. When you click on the refresh icon, it has to display the database name without fail. Otherwise, there was something wrong with it. Look here. In this case, which one? Demo Retail DB. Now it got moved up. Okay, because in the alphabet order, it shows here. Okay, fine. Next to the database which I created it, we can see the plus icon. You can click on that. It will get expanded. Here, if you click on the plus icon next to the tables, it will get expanded. So here we don't see any tables here. File tables, system tables, nothing. We don't see any tables because we have created this database just now. Demo Retail DB. We need to create the tables. Instead of creating the table, let's say your manager has given you the data in Excel file. He wants you to load the Excel file data into database. How to do that? For that, select the tables icon, right click on it, new here. Okay, not this one, sorry, demo retail DB. Select the database name, right click on it, tasks, go to tasks, and then you will find something called import data. From the Excel file. Excel file is an external file for this database, isn't it? This is a database. This database is available inside your SQL Server. Excel file is outside of this one, right? You need to load the Excel file data into this database. So hence, you need to select the database, right click on it, tasks. And then if you scroll down, you will find the import data. I'm going to click on the import data. It will open up another dialog box. It is not showing here. And let's move here and see it is not there at the back also. Why is that not visible? Let me just see if there any other problem. Yeah, it is showing somewhere else. Okay, ideally it is getting hidden somewhere else. So in my case, I opened many files. That is the reason why. Make sure that you don't open multiple files. Even if you don't find this window, let's say here, what I did, I just clicked on the import icon, right? So this window is not available, the dialog box or the window. It was hidden somewhere else. You need to use Alt tab in some cases, okay? To find out this one. Yes, I got this. Click on the drop down and scroll down And here, what you need to load it? Excel file. I want to load the data from an Excel file. Source and destination you need to tell. Like if you want to travel from one place to another place, you need to tell the car driver, or you're using a Uber app to book an auto or cab, right? So in that case, you need to tell the source and then destination. Similarly, you need to tell the source and destination here. Excel file path. Next to the Excel file path, I clicked on the browse button. It will take some time to open the browse. Even this one is not, yeah, it is visible here. Now what I do is I'll just load the Excel file here. For example, dim location or customer.xls file. Okay, I'm going to hit open and then look here. Now this file got selected. I just clicked on the dim customer.xls file. I just hit the open button. Now it got selected here automatically. Now it shows the file name and then the path also here. And then the version, Excel version, it shows automatically because it's a older version. It shows what kind of version is that here. You don't have to do anything. Simply specify the file which you wanted to load it into your Power BI, sorry, in your SQL Server, okay? And then hit the next button. Now we have mentioned the source. We need to tell the destination. Look here, choose a destination. Sorry, here it shows the choose a destination, isn't it? So you need to tell what is the destination. Obviously SQL Server native client. You need to click on the drop down here and go bottom, scroll down, and then you will find the SQL Server native client. And then this is server name. It picked up automatically. And then here you need to tell the database name. Click on the drop down. By default, it will pick up the recent database that you created it. Yes. In case you don't find it, you just click on the drop down and then ideally you select it from the drop down so that there will not be any the typing related issues. Supposing you did not type the DB, you did not leave space, it will cause confusion. Better you click on the drop down. From there you select it and then click on the next button. We mentioned about the source and the destination. The source is the Excel file, and then the destination is we selected this driver SQL Server native client 11.0, and we need to wait for some time. Hit the next button, wait for some time. Okay, copy data from one or more table. Okay, first okay, don't change anything. Hit the next button, and then here also click on the edit mapping just for our verification purpose. Okay, how many columns are there? 4 columns are there. And this is my source and destination is this one, the table columns. This is my Excel file, whatever the columns are there, it shows. And this is how the table name. And if you think you want to change the name of the column in the Excel customer ID, if you want to give it, you can give it. You can edit it. Okay. This is the destination of your SQL Server table columns. If you want the SQL Server table columns also similar to this one, you don't touch anything. So in my case, I'm going to hit OK. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to hit next button. Next button. I'm going to hit finish. That's all. And let's wait for some time. Look here, 7 rows transformed. Very good. Sheet 1. Because in the dim customer.xls file, the sheet name was sheet 1. Hence, it shows sheet 1, 7 rows transferred successfully. That means the data got loaded. So you can see, success everywhere. We don't see any error here. Very good. Click on close. And then, so now if I see the table is not visible, the new table name was sheet $1. Okay. I'm going to click on the refresh button here. And then I'm going to expand the tables. This time you should be able to see the table name. The actual Excel file name is dim customer.xls. But inside the Excel file, when you open the Excel file, you will find sheet 1, right? The first sheet. In that name only, the table name will get created. Now you need to rename the table name, right click on it, and then here you rename it. Here what you do is give the meaningful name, dim customer. Now, Swarna asked a question, can I give any name? You can give any name, but make sure that you are giving some meaningful name. This name should be in line with your project requirement or in the project specification. When you join with any software company, any project, right? That project specific to that customer, they'll give you a naming convention document. There they would have mentioned how the table name should be given. So when we tell about this table name, we say customer dimension, but when you give the name, you should give it like this, dim customer. That means, customer dimension table. Okay, very good. So how do I look for the data? Now the Excel data got loaded here. I renamed it. How can I see the data here? Click on the plus icon next to this. And then here we don't see anything. If you want to see the columns, click on the plus icon next to the column. You can see the 4 columns. First name, customer ID, first name, last name, gender. Click on the the table name again and right click on it. Select top 1000 rows. The SQL is very interesting one. But only thing is you need to look here. Okay, good. So select top 1000. This query got generated automatically, right? All we need to do is just select the table name. Sorry, you need to select the table, right click on it, select top 1000 rows. That's it. Point and click. When you do the point and click, it generates the script automatically. That is the reason why SSMS became very popular. You don't have to write SQL query for everything. Okay, obviously you need to write, you need to make some customization, you need to write queries also at times, but it simplifies your job. Or simple thing and all, to view the data in a table, you don't have to write this query. Simply it generates the query, and at the bottom in the result window you can see the table data here. Okay, how many rows are there? 7 rows are there. In this table we have 7. So now I'm calling this a table, but what is the source for that? We have loaded the data from dim customer.xls into this table successfully. We were able to load it successfully. Good. So in your case, you try with .xlsx file. In that file, you will have the data. Sometimes what will happen is the version problem will come. It will throw an error. You will get panic. Don't worry. In that case, you try loading a dim customer.xls file. I have 2 versions files also available in my website, and that I will show you later. Okay. You need to first download all the data sets and then you try it out. Okay. So look here. So we have 7 data. So at the end, you can see 7. And if the number of records are too high, for example, in this table, we have 25 million customers are there. How do I check? At the right bottom, also you can see 7 rows. Okay. This is where you can look for the number of records that are available in customer dimension table. Is it clear? It's cool, right? Fine. So now I'm going to do the same exercise. Now I'm going to load another Excel file data into this database. I'm going to select the database, right click on it and tasks, and I'm going to import data. Here I need to tell again the source and destination. My source is an Excel file because my manager gave me data in Excel file. I'm going to hit the browse, and here I'm going to say sales fact.xls file. I'm going to hit open. That's all. Look here, the file and file name with the folder name. It is appearing it. And I'm going to hit the next button. Now I need to tell the destination. The destination is SQL Server native client. This is a driver, which means, load the Excel data into the database. Which database? It is already selected. And sorry, the server name, the database name, everything is already picked up automatically. I'm going to hit the next button, and here I'm going to select the first sheet. In this Excel file, fact.xls, we have 2 sheets are there. I'll just show you in the operating system. And here I will just go to the D drive, that one, and here the sales fact dot XLS file. I think my Excel license got expired. 1 second. I was using some trial version of thing. Anyhow, I'll just give it a try one more time. Yeah, this file may be correct. No, okay, not responding. What is the problem? Let me try another thing. Again, customer. Oh, okay, I need to click on close. Okay. This is the customer file. Okay, I think this has some issues. Sales fact. Okay, this one maybe located on a there is not responding. Okay, leave it. It says it got corrupted. Let us try to do the same thing here. Where is that thing? Yeah, here. Okay, I thought of showing you, right? Two sheets that are available in salespack.xls. NC sales. First sheet you need to select it. And edit mappings. Can we see it? Yeah, it shows corrupted, but still it is there. The data is there. Very good. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to click on the next, finish. 92 rows got transferred. Very good. Even that file, the NC sales rise, that Excel sheet, right? It is not displayed here. Click on the refresh button and then expand the tables. You'll find this one. You just right click on it, rename it, and then here rename is a sales fact. Okay, now I want to see the data that are available in this table. Okay, and if I want to see the columns, click on expand the columns. You can find all the columns here. Right click on it, select top 1000 rows. Look here, the data from the Excel file, salesfact.excel file got loaded successfully here. Even though it was showing some error and all, look here, this is my Excel file, right? This Excel file data got loaded into my SQL Server successfully. And we can see the data got loaded here. If you scroll down in the results window, right, you can see the data got. And then at the right bottom, if you see 92 rows are there in this table. In a sales fact table, we have 92 rows. And here you might see, the table, just before the table name, you can see demo retail. This is my database name. .dbo. DBO is the schema name, database owner and sales fact. You don't have to worry about these two things. This one will get included automatically. Supposing you wanted to write a query on your own. For example, here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this one, copy and paste it just beneath this. I don't want to, disturb the original query. Instead, sorry. Here, for F12, these columns are not required. This one seems to be something, strange. I just removed it. Whichever columns you don't want it, you remove it. And then here we can see the select top 1000 rows, which means display the top 1000 rows. In your data set, if you have 100,000 records are there, 1 lakh records are there, you don't want to see the entire data. You just want to see the top 100 records, the top 1000 records. So in that case, the top is very much helpful. And you can also remove this one. And simply you can say select star from this database. And then if you execute this one, this query will look here, it is working fine. But sometimes in real world scenario, we need the column name, specific column, not all the columns. Remove the unwanted columns, and then you execute the query like this. And then here top 1000, I don't know what is top 1000. Here we know already only 92 records are there. There is no point in putting. Let's say I just out of the 92 record, display only the first 10 records. Look here. Top is to display the first n. N is nothing but you can specify whatever the value you wanted. Top 10, top 100. So in this case, only 92 records are there. Hence, I just said top 10 or top 20 records. If I click on, you need to click on the execute, select the query and click, you will find the icon here, execute, click on it. The query will get executed here. If you make any customization SQL query and you need to select that query and you need to execute this, right? But if you want to see the entire table data, simply right and select top 1000. Here you don't have to click on any execute, nothing. But in this case, you have made changes to the existing query itself. And hence you need to select the query and you need to click on execute to explicitly run this query. The query's output, you can see it at the bottom. And then the number of records, look here, top 20 records you are interested. And the only 20 records got displayed here, selected, fetched from the database. Now you understood some extent the basics of SQL Server, and also you understood what is a table and how to load the data from Excel file into SQL Server database. Okay, fine. And another basic thing, what you should be knowing at this moment is, look here, this is what your SQL Server. This already you need to install first, okay? SQL Server. And here what happens, this SQL Server can have multiple database. Database 1, database 2, etc. You can create n number of databases like retail DB, demo DB, and demo database, database 1, DB1, DB2. This is what I mentioned about DB1, DBN. A single server can contain multiple databases, and each database can contain table 1, table 2, and table n. Okay. So a single server can contain multiple databases, and each database can contain multiple databases. That's it, guys. It's something like, this is like a, father, a single parent, a father, or single parents, right? They can have, a single family, a father can have multiple kids, and each kid have, again, they have their own kids, right? Likewise, you just remember this way. These are the basic things. If you know, that is enough. Now the question is, we have a table, we have a database, and in this database, we have two tables, dim customer and sales fact table. We created it by loading the Excel data into this one. Fine. And now I wanted to load this customer dimension table into Power BI desktop. How can I do that? So that, okay, still it is loading it. It is very, very slow. 1 second. Let me just open the Power BI desktop again. I'll just launch it again. It is being launched. Let us wait for some time. Yes, your Kamaljit, he has one question, very good question. In real world project, the data is usually in the cloud database like Azure SQL. Yes, in cloud, it is not a, rocket science, guys. It's very simple, but this is very important. Yes, right time you ask the right question, Kamal. See, in the case of a real world scenario, what we do is we connect to the Azure Cloud SQL Server. In that case, how do you connect? You need to click on the connect here, database engine. Here you need to specify the cloud URL. That's it. The SQL Server. I will give you a separate demo for that. Probably at the end of when I give you the SQL Server, right? That time I'll show you how to create a SQL Server on cloud, Azure SQL, everything I'll show you that time. You need to specify that URL, and then here I think you need to specify universal with Azure Active Directory, universal with FA. You need to select that option and then hit connect. In that case, you'll connect to Azure SQL. So it's all, that's all, nothing much difference. But when you create the database, everything, right? Let's say you are writing a query here. This query will get run. This query will get executed on your cloud SQL Server database. That's all. Not much data. Not much difference. Okay. Thanks, Kamal. Yeah. That is what, but we have so we have something like a studio, Azure Data Studio. Okay, using which also you can run your SQL query. Okay, I don't want to open that now. Probably, before wrapping up the today's session, I will show you that one. Azure Data Studio also will be using it to connect to the Azure SQL Server, or you can use simple SSMS itself. Okay, in the SSMS itself, you need to specify the cloud URL. That's all. Okay, but you need to have the internet connection, everything to connect to the SQL Azure SQL Server. But in this case, if you have the SQL Server installed on a laptop, local laptop, and you've installed your SSMS and Power BI, you don't need a net connection to work with this. But net is very common, right? That became an essential thing, right? So internet, better you can have the net connection in case you get stuck. Any error comes, you can check it in the Google. Okay, we are done. Next, I'm going to the Power BI desktop got open. This time, I'm going to click on the SQL Server. You remember, we learned about how to load the CSV file, comma separated value file into Power BI desktop, and Excel file, how to load that, how to load the OneDrive files, okay, and how to load the CSV file from GitHub into Power BI desktop. We have seen it. And next one is SQL Server. Using Power BI desktop, how I can connect to the SQL Server and how I can bring the data from a specific database table into my Power BI desktop. For that, you need to click on the SQL Server and go back here, click on the connect, click on the database engine, select your server name, right click on it, copy it, and then put it here. We need to tell Power BI desktop which SQL server it has to connect. In the real world scenario, n number of SQL servers will be there. Which SQL server and which database you want to connect. Here the database name is optional, but it is a good practice you specify the database name. Otherwise, what will happen is it will open the SQL, it will get connected to the SQL server and display all the databases. Okay, it will slow down the performance. So for that sake, what you do is demo. We know very well what is the database name, demo retail DB. Okay, and the default connectivity mode is import. Look here, these two options we can see it only for the database connection. And apart from this, we have database. Even for this, you will find these two options. But when we loaded the CSV file or Excel file, we did not see this option at all, isn't it? By default, all the flat files, it is an import connectivity mode. Please remember this. In this case, the import mode, the database name, right? In the case of database, it gives us two different options. You wanted to import the data, or you wanted to just leave the data there itself. You want to directly query the data from Power BI desktop. Okay, first we'll start with the import. The default option is import in the case of database, right? And I'm going to hit OK. Going to resume the recording. Now it is connecting there. We'll have to wait. We have to have a lot of patience. Now we can see the navigator window got open. Now it got connected to the SQL server successfully. And in this SQL server, in this database, whatever the tables are there, it displays here. I'm going to select the customer dimension table by clicking on it here. You can see the tick mark and the right side, what are the data that are there in dim customer, it shows here. So this data came from your SQL server. Look here, where is your SQL server? This is what your SQL server, right? And look here, and if you click on this, see here, there are two scripts. You need to click on it here to view the preview. Look here, the dim customer table has how many rows? Are 7 rows. That is what we can see here. I'm going to hit the load button and wait for some time. It is a very simple and straightforward approach when it comes to import mode. Yes, the navigator window shows only the preview of the data. It is not showing the entire table data. Since customer dimension has only 7 rows, it showed the display the entire 7 records. If you have 1 million records are there, it will not show the 1 million record in the navigator window. It is just a preview window. It will show only few records in the database, the table. Okay. 7 rows loaded. Very good. We got the message here. On the right side, just beneath the data pane, you will find the table dim customer zone. Look here. With this, we can make sure that the table got loaded successfully. And then next to the table, if you click on this, it will get expanded. It shows what are the table columns that are available in this table here. And if you want to see the data for this table, you need to click on the data view, obviously. And then customer dimension table here, right, got selected. And you need to wait for few seconds for the data to get populated here. Look here, it got loaded. So in this case, if you look at the left bottom, 7 rows got loaded. And similarly, when you go here in the SQL Server, 7 rows. We are in SQL Server. 7 rows, whatever are available, what are the rows that are available in this table, got loaded into my Power BI desktop successfully. Very good. Very simple. Okay. And I'm going to switch over to my report view now. And the next thing, again, I'm going to click on the get data and I'm going to click on the SQL Server. This time we are going to load another table using the direct query mode, And I'm going to click on the connect here, database engine. And here you need to select, copy it, and then paste it here. Can't I type the Okay, what is your question, Swarna? Can't I type this? Yes, you can type it, but it is always good. The typing involves some kind of mistakes, right? If you forget to specify WS, just simply copy and paste it here, okay? The demo retail database. This time, I'm going to select the direct query mode. In this case, what happens is, it will not load the SQL Server table data locally into your Power BI desktop. Instead, the data will remain wherever it is. It will remain as it is in your SQL Server. It will not download or it will not import the data into your Power BI desktop. I am going to hit OK. Only the table name and the column names will get loaded here. That is called metadata. Table name and the data only will, and then the relationship will get loaded here. So we could not authenticate the provided again. Okay, SQL Express. And okay, I'm going to SQL Express 03 demo read. Look here, the database name I mistakenly given double L. I'm going to cancel it. I'm going to click on the get data again. So it is always copy paste is good, right? There are situations, yes. Here I just right click on it, paste it. This server name is already there. And then the database name is demo retail DB. Right click on it, and here you cannot. Yeah, I just rename it, and then I copy it, and then Control C. Okay, I just did this one and direct query. Okay, I'm going to hit OK now. I gave the wrong name for the database, hence it was throwing an error while connecting it. Now I have fixed that issue. I just copy pasted the database name, and look here, now no error. I'm going to hit connect button, and let's wait for some time. And it is giving some kind of warning. You can simply ignore this. This is not an error. We were unable to connect to the data source using an encrypted connection, using unencrypted connection. To access data source using unencrypted, click OK. Okay. It is not secure, but for learning purpose, we can use it. And this time, I want to load the sales fact table. Here, it will display the table data here. But we have used the direct connection mode. I'm going to hit load button. This time what will happen is it will not load the data of your sales fact table into your Power BI desktop. Instead, it will load only the table name and the column name and the relationship. Forget about the relationship at this moment. We'll discuss that as part of data modeling. So look here on the right side, just beneath it, we have another table, sales back got loaded successfully. You can see all the columns. Yes, very good. And I'm going to go to the data view And when I click on the sales fact, it should display the data, but it is not displaying it. Why? This table uses directory and cannot be shown. So what is the difference between these two tables? Why it is not showing it? If the data is not loaded here, how can I create the report? You don't have to worry about that. So in this case, what happens? Let's say you want to create a visual, a chart, something like this. And here you want to create a bar chart. In the bar chart, in the y-axis, you want to plot the sales amount. The x-axis, you want to specify the region column. Region is a text column, right? So this one will be holding the north and south region. So let's say this is north, south, east, and west. These two columns are from your sales fact table. You just think that way, okay? So in this case, what happens? Behind the scene, since you have used the direct connection mode, the Power BI desktop, what it does is it generates the query. Select the region, comma, sales column from your sales fact table. Sorry, sales fact table. Sorry, here the sum of sales. Okay, sum of sales. Group by region. So when you drag and drop any numeric column into the chart, it gives you the sum, right? The default aggregation is sum. So here the north region, what the total sales, south region, what the total sales we made, it displays that, right? And the x-axis region and the y-axis we plot it. But behind the scene, what happens is, since the sales fact table data are not loaded here, behind the scene, it generates the SQL query. This SQL query will be sent to your SQL Server database, SQL Server. The output of the query will be sent back to your Power BI desktop report file. This is the one, okay? I mentioned about, so here you will find this one, the region, and then the sales. So here you have the table name, sales fact. Because the sales fact table, we did not load it locally. The data is available here only, in SQL Server. The Power BI desktop, this is your Power BI desktop. It generated this SQL query. And this query will be sent to your SQL Server. And then this query will get executed against this table. And then the output of the query will be sent back to your Power BI desktop, the visual. In this case, the visual. This is what is happening. Whereas in the case of customer dimension, since the data are available locally, it will not generate the SQL query. Okay, it need not to send us a SQL query. So the whole idea of the direct query is the sales fact table in real life scenario, any fact table, if you see here, majority of the fact tables, okay, you will have millions and or billions of records will be there. Billions of records are there. Okay, in that case, if you download this file using import connectivity, it's a kind of a download, right? If you use import, if you download 100 billion records, it takes a lot of time, isn't it? Okay, instead, don't download the data to my Power BI desktop. Instead, send the query to the SQL server. Let it execute it here and then send the output back here. This query, let's say we are selling the product in north, south, east, west region. Only 4 regions we are selling the product. This query has to output only 4 records. In north region, let's say 10K, and south million 15K, and south region, and west region, and east region. And here let's 25K and 5K, something like that. 5,000, 25,000, 15,000, 10,000, something like that. Okay. So because it gives you an aggregated value, sum of sales. Okay. Each region, give me how much total sales we made. So this query, let's assume that you have 10 billion records are there in the sales fact table. This query will get executed against this table, and then out of this 10 billion records, okay? And what is the output? The output is just 4 rows, just 4 rows. See, it smartly generates the SQL query, and it sends the query to the source system SQL server. This query will get executed against this table, only 4 rows will be sent back to your visual, because this visual requires only 4 rows, but 2 columns and 4. So one column is, this is the one, region is this one, right? This is the region, and sales, this is the sales related data here. The only 2 columns related data, but only 4 rows will be sent back from your SQL Server to here. Instead, if you use the import connectivity, you are going to load the 100 billion records. Loading 100 billion records is smarter, or loading only 4 records to your the table, so the Power BI is smarter. This is the smarter way, right? That is the reason why take the code to your source system. This code may be 1 KB size, right? Just 1 KB is a very, very small. Take the code to the data and then execute it here. Send the output of the query back to your Power BI desktop. That's it. This is called query folding. The case of direct query mode, the query folding is happening. Direct query is possible only in the case of the RDBMS of like Oracle, SQL Server, database, and so on, right? So in this case, it does this one. It takes care of it automatically. Okay. And this is called, so direct query mode, the table data will not get loaded into my Power BI desktop. Instead, it generates the SQL query and then it send it to your SQL Server, and then this query will get executed against the respective table, and then it will return the output back to your Power BI visual or Power BI desktop. Okay, this is called query folding. It automatically generates the query, but there are some cases it will not generate the query even in the case of direct query mode due to some limitations that we will see it later. So now you understood. In the case of direct query mode, in the interview they'll ask you, so what is the difference between import and direct query? In the case of import, it will load the entire data into your Power BI desktop itself. In the case of direct query, it will not load the data. It will simply load the table name and the column name and the relationship. That's it. Okay, then how your report will show the data in the charts and all. In that case, what happens is, in the case of direct query mode, generate the SQL query, the same story you need to tell them. Okay, same process. The SQL query will be generated by your SQL Power BI desktop. That SQL query will be sent to your the SQL Server table. The output of the query will be sent back to your. So why we don't want to load the data here locally? Because it will literally slow down your performance. To load the 10 billion records into your Power BI desktop, it may take a week's time, right? So no one will have a patience to wait for a week to see the report output. Instead, you can go for the direct query mode. In the case of huge volume of data, go for direct query. In the case of moderate amount of data, you can use import. And obviously, when the data is available in CSV file or Excel file, then you have to use the import mode only. The default mode is only the default, and only option available is import mode. In the case of flat files, what do you mean by flat files? Excel file, CSV file, JSON file, XML file, these are called kind of a flat files. Okay. Now I just here we cannot see that. Okay, and if I go to the Power Query editor, how can I go to the Power Query editor? Currently, I switch to my report view, click on the transform data and click on the transform data. Now it will launch the Power Query editor. In the Power Query editor, you can see the data for the sales fact table. As the name suggests, Power Query editor, these two are considered as a query. It generates the query behind the scene. And then look here, Aki, is there any way that I can see the query here? Yes, you can, just beneath the applied steps, navigation, right click on it. Here you will find view native query. You click on it. Look here, whatever I said was correct, right? It generated the SQL query. But in this case, it did not do the sum everything. Okay, simply generate the SQL query because we did not create any report. Did I create any column chart, something? Nothing, right? Okay, as of now, look here. As the name suggests, right, it generated a query for this table because it's a Power Query editor. This query was sent to the SQL Server. The output of the query has been sent back to my Power Query. Everything happened in a matter of seconds. Look here. Here you can see the data. Why you can see the data here? Because here the query has been generated, the query has been sent to SQL Server, got executed, and then the query output got sent back to my Power Query editor. It all happened in a matter of seconds. I'm going to hit file and click on the close and apply. Now we are done. So we are able to load the customer dimension table and sales fact table into my Power BI desktop. For customer dimension table, I have used the import connectivity mode, whereas for sales fact, I use the direct query mode. Now let us switch to the model view. The model view, we can see that customer dimension sales fact. But when you look at very closely, and the sales fact table, on top of this table, you can see the blue color line. With that itself, we can understand the sales fact table, we have used the direct query mode, whereas customer dimension table, we did not use the direct query mode. But when you see something like this, you will get confused whether the customer dimension data came from Excel file or SQL Server. Okay, to answer to that, keep the cursor on, somewhere here next to the table name. And you can see on the right side a tooltip. Then in the tooltip, the rectangular one is called your tooltip. In that, we can see the name, the customer dimension table. Storage mode is import. Data refreshed is this one. But still, it is not showing whether it's a database table or something. But for that case, click on the transform data source settings. When you click on it, and then you can see that this is the SQL Server name in this database. In this database, these two table data came from those two source system. Is it clear? Fine. Next, I want to create a visual. Okay, I just go here and I'm going to click on the column chart. And here what I do is, we wanted to see the total sales by customer, right? How much money in total spent by my, the total amount spent by my customer. I just drop the sales amount here. And then I'm going to drop the first name. You want to see the first name. In this case, it is not doing the filtering correctly. All that means each customer, right? If you see the total amount sent by them, 4,56,000. It tells me in total we have how many customers? 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 customers. Each customer spend, if you see, it's all same, right? That means there is something wrong here. We just go here because there is no relationship created between these two tables. Anyhow, we will take a deep dive regarding the relationship. There is a separate session for that. That time you'll understand. But the simple idea is, you need to link these two tables based on the common column. So what columns are common between these two? Customer ID. I'm going to select this one. I just drag this and then drop it on top of this table's customer ID column only. You need to be very cautious here. And it opens something like customer ID and customer ID. These two columns got grayed out. It tells us very clearly in customer dimension table, the customer ID column, in the sales fact table, the customer ID column are common. Hence, it got highlighted in gray color. Okay, and I'm going to hit OK now. And then I switch to report view and let's see the magic now. It cannot be same for all the users, right? The amount spent. If you see now, it is doing it gives me the accurate result. I just increase the font size. Sure, I will do that. Don't worry. And I believe all of you can see it. Chris, Victor, Raj, Hemal, Stella, and John, right? So these people are each customer's total amount spent by Chris and Victor, right? These two customers are, top spenders. Top spenders. Their spend is more compared to other customers. Very good, right? That's what we can say. So, okay, the question is, there was a question from Jamal, so not Jamal, sorry, Swarna. Okay, Swarna asked, sir, not only the table name, the column names, and the relationship also will get loaded as per direct query. Why the relationship wasn't? Because it is an import mode, this is a direct query mode. If both of them were direct query mode, then it should link them automatically. In case you don't find the link, creating the relationship between the tables, which is nothing but a link, is very simple. You just drag the common column from year to year and drop it on top of the same column, customer ID, customer ID. Don't drop it on other columns. It will cause mess. Anyhow, we'll discuss that in detail, why it causes mess and all as part of the data modeling section. So as of now, we have understood how to load the data from an Excel file into SQL Server. The Excel file, right? We loaded the data from Excel into the SQL Server. And it created tables, right? That table, how can I load it into Power BI Desktop using import connectivity mode and then direct query mode? We are done. Fine. Next question is there any way can I run the SQL query directly here? I'll just write a simple SQL query here. So in this case, what I am going to do is, I have two tables. Is there any way can I join these two tables? I don't need all the columns from both the tables. I need only specific columns from both the tables. But both the tables column should be available in a single query. Is that possible? Yes. Select first name. You need to use a square bracket because this is a single column name. This single column has space or there, right here. Okay, from, I just write from your dim customer table, comma, sales. Where I just give some alias name for this. C and yes. So C dot customer ID. C is nothing but the alias for your customer dimension table. You don't have to type the entire table name. Okay, you can give the alias for this will save time, isn't it? So followed by the table name, when you specify, see, this is an alternative name for this. Okay, and yes dot, you need to join the two common column here between these two data set. First name, comma, in this case we have sales amount. I think sales amount is here. You need to say s dot sales amount. I just select this one. You can use a key, the keyboard shortcut F5. If you press F5, this query will get executed, or else you select this one, click on the execute. Okay, both of them are same. And if you want to be pretty fast, press F5. The first name and sales amount, customer, right? This is the query. In this case, what I did, I selected only these two columns from these two different tables. The first name came from the customer retention table. The sales amount is available in these two tables. In this table. Okay. In a single query, if I want to select the columns from more than one table, we need to join the tables in the where clause based on the common column. In both the tables, customer dimension table and sales factor, what the common column? Customer, this one, right? You tell them, hey, in the dim customer dot custody is equivalent to sales fact dot custody. Join these two tables, these two columns, right? Based on this, the common column between these two tables, you select the data from these two tables. If you want to select more than one table, the data, then you need to use where clause. But in Power BI, we need to link these two tables columns. That is enough. Okay. So now this query produces how many number of records? 92 records. Okay. What I do is here I just introduce. Yes. Let's go step by step. This query. Let's assume that you don't have access to the SQL query window and all. Okay. So in that case, or you want to select only these two columns, right? But you want to combine these two table data into a single query. Okay. See, the first name comes from the other table Sales amount comes from other table, two different tables. Okay, so what you did, you simply write a one query. In this one query, you don't have to write load two different tables, right? In this case, you simply copy this query. See, previously we loaded these two tables separately. Without loading these two tables, is there any way can I load both the tables data in a single query? Yes, that is possible. Click on the get data, click on the SQL Server. And then here in the advanced option, you need to copy paste the SQL query here. And then here, obviously, you need to specify the SQL Server name, connect database engine, right click on it, copy this, and then paste it here. And then here, the retail demo DB, that's all. And here, I'm going to use a direct query mode and include relationship columns. Okay, fine. Let us see what happens. I'm going to hit OK. This query, behind the scene, what happens is it will get executed against your SQL Server database. And we could not okay, again, I made the mistake. I just go back here. Retail demo DB, right? Rename and then Control C, and then I come back here and then let me say that DB. Yeah, I just hit OK now. I think there was some problem with my, better you can use, look here. Now what happened? I just put the query name in the advanced thing, options, and then I mentioned the SQL Server name, database name. The query, whatever I put here, it got sent to the SQL Server. That query got executed against these two tables. This time the query got executed against two table. Which all table? The customer dimension table and sales amount. But in a single query, what happened? We are able to get the data from two different tables, and I'm going to hit load now. So in this case, I don't have to load the customer dimension and sales fact table individually. This one query itself more than sufficient. This is just an example. Once you load your data here, right? The using direct query mode, but the default name given to the query is query one. You can also modify this first name sales amount. Here I just say I'm going to rename it with some meaningful name, sales by customer breakdown. I just renamed it. When you click on the query name, right? If you double click on it, it will allow you to change the table name. That's all. And then you go back to your data view. The data view, when I click on sales by customer, even in this case, it will not show the data because it's a direct query mode. You just copy pasted the query. That query ran against your SQL Server, both the table, okay, and then the output will be sent back. So that output you can use it in another visual. For example, I'm going to click on the column chart, another column chart here, but you can see the data here. Here you put the one text column and then the one numeric column. You can see that the same output, we can see it here. Initially, what we did, we loaded the customer dimension table and the sales fact table individually. 2 times we clicked on get data. This time, what we did, we have written a query. That query we have submitted against the SQL Server. Right, in the advanced options, I copy pasted the query, write that query, and then I mentioned the server name, database name, and then I hit the OK button. In this case, what happened? The output of the query was sent back from my SQL Server back to this one. Okay, there was a question. So Swarna's question is, okay, what is the difference, exact difference between these two? In this case, you tell me. So we have to load these two tables separately, customer dimension table and sales fact table. Let's say the data is having 4 different tables. So in your report your report should show 4 different columns. So 4 columns data, but the 4 columns are coming from 4 different tables. In that case, you need to join 4 tables in a single query and then get the 4 tables specific columns in your query in a single query itself. You can get 4 different columns from column names from 4 different columns from 4 different tables. You don't have to load 4 tables manually. That is the difference between these two in the case of query. Okay, but the query is fine. But in this kind of situation, for different report, you end up creating different queries, right? Better you load the tables and then create the relationship, and then you do. That is the best approach. But there are situations due to some limitations. Okay, you have to use a SQL query. For example, okay, let's go step by step. I have shown you the direct query mode. Let us try the same thing in the import mode. Not this one. This query is available here, and then copy and then paste it here. So now we are looking at the default connectivity mode, import. When you use the import mode, obviously the queries output will, this data will get loaded locally into my Power BI desktop from the SQL Server. So here I just go here. I don't want to spend time. Select the table name. Sorry, not the table name, the database name, right? Yeah, I right click on, sorry, here I double click on it here on top of the database. Okay, not, okay, sorry, right click on, rename it, and then you control C, and then go back here, control V. Okay, this time I'm going to select the import connectivity mode. Previously it was direct query mode. Now I selected the import connectivity mode. I'm going to hit OK. This time the query will be sent to your SQL Server. The output of the query, this many number of records will get loaded manually. So they get loaded into your Power BI desktop. Look here, query 1. The default name given to your query is query 1. And then if you go here, the query 1, if you select here, yes, we can see that, output, the query's output, you can see it here. So you can execute a query, a SQL query from your Power BI desktop using both direct query mode as well as the import mode. The advantage of query is you don't have to load each and every table one after the other. Instead, in your SQL query, if you join multiple tables in one go, if you execute the query, the output, you can see it here. Though it is, it saves time instead of loading the table one after the other, but it is not a good approach because you need to load the end, because there are for other visuals, you may require column from, you may require the columns, different columns from the same table. Again, you don't have to write a separate query. So now the question is, you got confused. Which one should I use? Best thing is you load the table, all the tables, so that all the columns are available. See, if here, in this case, query 1, you have only 2 columns are there, right? Okay, if you switch here, the query 1, you can see first name, last amount. Let's say your manager, again, he comes back to you and asks you, hey, I want the first name, comma, last name, and sales amount by region, right? So again, you need to go here, and then you need to rewrite the query, edit query, click on the edit query. And you are here, right? So here you need to go and edit your query here, right? It is and again, it is not good for each and every visual. For this chart, use one query. For this chart, use another query. It is not a good approach. Hence, you try to load all the necessary tables. It could be either import or direct query mode. Let it be there. Okay, the next thing is we explored how to load the data from the database, SQL Server database. As part of that, we have explored 2 different connectivity mode, the import mode as well as direct query mode. And also we have seen how to execute the SQL query in both import and direct query mode. Very good. Fine. And also we discussed what is the advantage and disadvantage of this one. Okay, the other scenarios, for example, I'm going to copy paste this one here. Sum of sales amount. Whenever you use sum, you have to use group by, otherwise it will not work. Group by the first name. Now, instead of displaying the Stella, again Stella is there. Look here, Stella. Let's Stella spent 201 yesterday. Today she spent 200. I don't want transaction level data. Instead, you tell me we are selling the products only to the 7 customers. Each customers how much sales we made. Don't give me day to day how much John purchase or Stella purchase. So you give me the aggregation summary data. Only 7 customer names should be there. Against each customer, you give me the total sales. For example, John, only one record, 100 plus 200, 300. That is called your aggregation. So this query will execute it. Yes. The output got it. It gives me the big picture, how much money spent by each customer in total. So can I execute this query the same way? I just copy this, I just go back here and then get data and SQL Server. And then we'll try with the advanced options here. And then here I just go back and I click on connect, right, copy this, and then I paste it here. And then I just go back here, retail, rename, Control C, and then I just come back here, Control V. And I'm going to hit OK now. Let us see with group by is working with the direct query mode. Yes, it is doing fantastic job. In a single query itself, you did the group by. Very good. If you are an SQL expert, better you can use this approach. But behind the scene, in the look here, this query contains that cannot be used for direct query. Look here. This query contains standard that cannot be used for direct. So in the case of direct query mode also, you cannot do group by. The sum of group by, it is not possible. Hence, what I do is, I just discard the changes, discard it, and then I go back to the get data again. So SQL Server, this time I left with only one option, import mode. Now with this, you are able to understand what is the limitation with direct query. You tell the interviewer, if I use group by, if I want to do some kind of aggregation with direct query mode, you cannot do that. That is the limitation. And here again, I just go back here. Yes, you are correct. What she says is, Swarna, instead of going to the SQL, why don't you put it in a notepad? And then we can reuse it again and again. Likewise, okay, copy, paste it, and then you do it here. And then you just go back here. The database name is this one, rename it. And instead of going to the SQL Server each and every time, I'll just put it here. And then also I just put, this time you selected import mode. Import mode, it should work. And I'm going to hit load. Until it apply changes, there is no assurance. But import mode, the group by, you can use it. Look here. So in the direct query mode, the limitation is you cannot use group by. Let's go back here. Look here. Even for queries, you can see the tables appearing in your data model view, right? And then second one is, if you go here, query 2, if you see here, look here, the aggregated total amount spent by each customer, we can see that. Here it shows column 1, first name, column 1. So here, ideally, what we should have given in this query is, for sum, right, it will not give the any column name here. Okay, so in that case, meaningful name. For that, you need to give as total sales. And if you see a no column name, right, when you use the sum alone, it will show. But instead, you can use the alias. The as is a keyword. Followed by that, you can specify the alias name. What are the name that you want to give it to this summed thing? Okay, total sales. Okay. So here you can rename it. You have that option. If you go back here and click the column 1, and here you can give the name also, total sales, something like that. Okay. Ideally, you specify the alias for the column, especially for the aggregated column, right? In that case, you don't have to rename it here. Very good. We have explored the how to execute the SQL query from Power BI Desktop in both connectivity mode, and also we learned about the limitations. The next one is, how do I invoke a stored procedure from my Power BI Desktop? The same step almost. Click on the SQL Server. And here this time I am using this one, and then I just copy this one and then paste it here. And this time, okay, I want to invoke a SQL query. I'm using an import mode. I hit OK. So first of all, we need to create a stored procedure in my SQL Server. How do I create a stored procedure? That is the question now. So for that purpose, I'm going to write a stored procedure. Before writing the stored procedure, first of all, what is a stored procedure is all about? What is a stored procedure is all about? Stored procedure will contain set of SQL statements, but we have seen only one SQL query, right? If I want to have two queries or more than two queries, I will put it in the stored procedure. Okay, a stored procedure, it is kind of a stored procedure in SQL Server is a pre-compiled collection of one or more SQL statements. Okay, if you want to combine multiple SQL statements, yes. Is this only purpose? Are we using it? No, not only for that. We wanted to keep the common business logic or frequently usable business logic into a centralized place, so that once you create it, it can be reused as many times as you want. It's something like, if you go to a shop, you buy a ready mix. Why you are buying a ready mix? Because you are running out of time. All the ingredients already mixed, everything readily available in the ready mix. That's the reason why it is called ready mix. Buy the ready mix and then come back home and then just put the, unpack the ready mix and put the content in a water and boil it and then eat it. That's all, right? The same thing here. Common business logic. For example, simple example is, you want to find out the net salary for each employee. For that, you need to, find out the earnings by each person, and then you need to subtract the deductions for each person from your earnings, from each employee's earnings, so that you will get the net salary. This is the formula, right? The basic plus HRA plus bonus plus additional bonus, something like that, and then minus you need to subtract the deductions part. And let's say a person has bought loan advance amount, you need to deduct from his salary, and then the EMI, and then you need to subtract the loss of pay, leave taken, right? So this requires some kind of formula. That's a complex business logic that you put it in a stored procedure. You call the stored procedure for each and every employee. It will automatically calculate the net salary for each and every employee. So create once, use it as many times as you want it. That is the principle of the stored procedure. The advantage of stored procedure is it improves the performance. So what happens is, when you run a query each time, this query will be evaluated by the SQL engine behind this, and it checks whether the syntax is correct, whether column names are available in the table or not. It does the parsing, syntax checking, and then it generates the SQL query plan, and then it executes this file. But once you create it in the stored procedure, it need not do the parsing each and every time. It's a pre-compile. Once it compiles everything, compiles in the sense it checks the syntax mistake, everything, and then once you create it, right, it need not to do the parsing or syntax checking each and every time you call it. That is also another advantage of the stored procedure. And then enhanced security. Since you keep the logic, everything in the stored procedure, no one can modify this stored procedure. Okay. For example, you are the payroll guy and you have a loss of pay, and you go and put some zero or remove the loss of pay, right? You can manipulate that. But once you put in a, the SQL server, and if that has been accessed only by the administrator, then there is a security, right? No one can modify the logic. Encapsulation of business logic. Yes. That is the whole advantage of SQL procedure. In the case of stored procedure, we are going to encapsulate the logic into a single stored procedure. For example, I'm going to find out the total sales amount by region. For example, let's see, how I can create a stored procedure. Don't worry, I'm going to discuss everything step by step in the procedure. This is the keyword, create procedure. How do I create a stored procedure? This is how you can create a stored procedure. Let's get total sales amount. You give whatever the name for your stored procedure. This is the one is option. You need to specify the name, but you can give some meaningful name for your stored procedure. And here what I do is I'm going to use a parameter input, let's customer name, something like that. Customer ID, I think the customer ID is the int data type. Data type is int. As is a keyword, and then the body. This is where you need to write the logic, the common logic here, okay? And I just say set no count on, semicolon, and declare. I'm going to declare a variable at it's a decimal data type. Then the next line, I'm going to use a select statement. Select this is a variable, okay? The total sales sum is a variable. Is equivalent to sum of sale amount. Where I just say the custody, right? C dot. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing here. From sales fact table. Okay, sales fact table. Okay, and here same thing here. So I'm going to use the same first name, sum of yes dot sales amount, and this one comma. You will specify the comma here for you to understand quickly, right? I just write it here. I'm going to use the where clause. Simply, I just use this to from class. I'm going to replace it so that you'll be able to understand when you practice it quickly. Okay. Here there is a underlined one. Whenever you find any underlining red color thing, that means there is something wrong there. Okay, the syntax problem. But sometimes, right, it will not be a syntax problem. Okay, here the C, this is a column name. You need to specify the alias outside of this one. Okay, sum of sales amount. Yes. So the next one is and I'm going to give and C dot cust ID is equivalent to the input cust. Amount. Let me check if this is getting executed. Yeah, there is an error here. A select statement that assigns a value to variable must not combine with the data retrieval operations. Okay, in this case, there is a mistake here. Okay, so here, what we need to do is, first of all, the procedure itself wrong here. Or otherwise, simply let me do one thing. I just simply use this one, sum of sales amount. Okay, and correct one. Yeah, here it is underlined, but still that query was working fine. Okay, it's all correct only. And here, group by first name. Here the return and all, I'm going to remove it. Yeah, the query, the stored procedure got created successfully. Sometimes the underline one will be there. That is not a syntax error. Don't worry. Now, how am I going to execute this stored procedure? I created a stored procedure. Very good. Here, what this stored procedure is, for any given customer ID, don't give me the total amount spent by all the customers. I wanted to see only the specific customers. Okay, whatever the customer ID that I specified, for that customer ID alone, you need to display the total sales amount spent by that customer. For example, here, in this case, the cust ID. Okay, the cust ID is the, okay, C001. It is not an integer. Actually, this is a character data type. Okay, what I will do is var car of, I'm going to say 10. And in this case, see, in this case, I gave the wrong data type. I'll explain the stored procedure. But for this, I need to first drop the stored procedure. Or what I do is, you can use alter stored procedure also. Okay, I just, there is a syntax mistake. Sorry, the data type mistake. Okay, here I just dropped it. And I'm going to create it with the input cast. Yeah, the proper data type. I'm going to execute it now. It is working fine. Now I just say declare the input cast is equal in right. It's a var car or of 10 and set at the input cast. Yes, here I'm going to C001. It's a string data type C001 0001 or yeah, here C001. Yes, that's not cust ID and cust underscore ID. Yeah, let it be there. Execute exec the get total sales amount. This is stored procedure name, and then followed by that. First, let me check if this is working correctly or not. But an input cast as an the invalid data type. Okay, input customer. So where car or sorry, the data type is suppose the width supposed to be in a parenthesis. Look here, it works perfectly. So you should be good at troubleshooting also in case any error, you should know where there is. That you will learn it as you practice more. Okay. The internet, lot of examples are there, but don't break your head. Strictly go by the flow, whatever I follow. Okay. So here, this stored procedure, what it does is The same query I used it here, but in addition to that, I put and here. So here the customer ID is equivalent to, so what, you don't give me the total amount spent by all the customers. Instead, whatever the customer ID that I specified, for that specific customer, you give me the total sales, total amount spent by the customer. If I specify C002, so there is another customer. C002 is your, who is the other customer? C002 is your other customer, right? Look here, if you go here, this is your, I just put it just above this. And then you followed by the query, if you specify go, and then followed by this. This one will be literally confusing you. If you are a beginner, you have to work hard. Okay, practice it. C002 is Chris, right? And look here, in one single reset out window itself, we can see the two queries out the. Since I've used the Go, it shows this query's output here. The second window at the bottom, it shows this output here. C001 is John. We can see that because here we mentioned C001 here. So what it goes to, this one passed as an argument to your stored procedure, and it filters only the C001 customers data, and then it gives you only the John related sales. Supposing if you put C002 here, so all you need to know is, don't worry about the stored procedure. Someone has already created the stored procedure. Believe me or not, in real world scenario, there are some cases we do not know the internal workings or the line by line code, whatever they've written it in the story, we do not know. All they tell is, hey, use this stored procedure, man. And for this, you need to pass the customer ID as the parameter, the at symbol followed by any variable, that is called a parameter. Here I do this, put the parameter name, declare the parameter, followed by we need to specify the data type, and then we need to assign the value to this one, whichever customer that you want to view, right? That customer ID you specify here. The same thing you need to use it here. Set command. Using the set command, you are assigning value to this one, and then when you pass this an argument here, what happens? This one is holding this value, right? C002 customer will be passed to this thing, the stored procedure. Now C002 is Chris. The Chris, how much amount is spent by him. So with the help of this stored procedure, we are able to dynamically check for any specific customers amount spent in our site. So don't worry too much about this at this month. Anyhow, we are going to discuss it in detail as what is SQL query. Now understand how to execute this stored procedure from my Power BI desktop. I just go here. I just cancel it. Here it is not required. And get data, SQL Server. All I do is here, advanced options. Here, instead of using declare all the things, right? Simply what you do is remove everything. You put the C002 here, over here. Okay, and then you just, that means, hey, tell me only customer ID C002's total sales. That's it, right? You don't have to write the lengthy query and all, group by all the things. You don't have to do it. Simply specify the customer ID followed by the stored procedure. This one will give you the, right? So what argument you need to pass it? The customer ID or location ID, in this case, customer ID. I'm going to specify the server name now again. So this one already is selected, copy and paste it here. And this one I put it here. And then I'm going to hit OK. Yes, Swarna, look here. The query the stored procedure got executed from the Power BI desktop. You are a front-end developer. You don't have to be aware of what what has been written here, right? See, in this case, it's pretty simple, right? This many number of lines, you don't have to be aware. Only one line. Even here also, you don't have to give all the things. Okay, yeah. So yes, Swarna, you are correct. I'll show you that one also. Don't worry. Okay, here. Instead of writing all the things, but this is the standard way of writing it. Which one? The above one. Instead, you can say here also the C002. See, directly you can specify it here. And if you execute this one, Look here, Chris is 2,27,000. The same thing. Okay. Yeah, direct query. See, in direct query, you cannot use sum, right? In this stored procedure, I have used the group by. It will not work. And this got changes. Go back again. SQL Server. Import mode. Yeah, I somehow forgot this one. Okay. Go also not required. And then here simply you put the C002. Oh, you find it complex, Swarna? Okay. That's if you learn the complex thing, obviously your salary will be more, right? But it's not a rocket science, very simple one. I'm going to this time, I'm going to select import. I'm going to hit OK. Crest is 2,27,382. Look here, 2,27,382. This stored project got executed from my Power BI desktop successfully. I am going to hit the load button. Yes, Swarna, I will share the entire code. Don't worry. Okay. Yeah, yesterday I did not share it. I will query 3 blocking with the queries. Query 2 column 1 of table was not found. Okay, there was some issue here. Query 2, query 1. Yeah, everything looks similar. Apply changes one more time. Let's see what happens. In query 3, loading blocked by failures with other queries. Query 2. Okay, query 2 has some problem. I'm going to remove this one now. We have delete from model. Okay, until you apply the Discord changes. Ideally, by Microsoft, they've given this option, right? Instead of doing it one after other, you should be allowed to delete it in parallel. We can suggest to Microsoft. Sorry, and this is the database name, and here the server name is, this is the one. It's my server name. Oh, sorry, I use this one, the direct query mode. The default one is the direct query mode, right? In this case. So, okay, I just go back here, SQL Server. Sorry, guys. That's why you need to be a bit cautious. Otherwise, it will take time. But in the real time, once you get in the project, you will not have time at all. Import mode, because the group by will not work with the direct query mode. Look here, 2,27,000. I'm going to hit load. This one should succeed. And apply changes. Wait for some time. There are pending changes. This time it should succeed. Look here, it got loaded successfully. And when I go here, and in this case, the query 2 should have only Chris's data. Yes, very good. So this is for stored procedure. Okay, this example is for stored procedure. SP stands for storage procedure query. And this one is the normal query. Okay. And why we were getting that error? Yes, that one was due to the direct query. Okay, we have used the direct query. In that, we have used the group by, it was throwing error. I did not delete that. That is the reason why it was causing problems for now. And Swarna's other question is, is there any way you can... Okay, our question is, can't we use the declare everything in one go here? Okay, you can give it a try. Okay, you just copy this one and then go back to home ribbon and then get data and SQL Server. Import mode, make sure that you selected import mode because group by is there in this stored procedure. Yes, that is also possible, right? You can use that also. It is working now. Query 2, yes, query 2 and query 3. Yeah, query 2, right? Okay, fine. Even that case also. Query 2, Chris, yes, stored procedure. You can pass, these things, declare also. So here, this is the procedure that we follow usually. So here itself, we can specify the customer ID directly. So this customer ID, if you specify directly, what happens is this one will be copied here. Okay, and then this one will get copied here. Okay, C002 will get copied here. But here, instead of C002, so right, we just use the parameter here so that whatever value that you specify, if you specify C002 here, what will happen? Whenever you execute the story, it will show only the Chris's sales. So C002 customer ID is sales, right? If you specify some common name here, that is what called parameter. In that case, C002, you can pass it directly along with the stored procedure name when you execute it, right? And you can specify C003, whatever you want, you can specify it here. Whatever the value that you specify, that one will get copied here in this case, right? It will get copied here first, and then that one will get copied here, and then it will apply the filter based on the customer key. In this case, C002 filter will be applied. Give me the total amount spent by C002. This one will get copied here as well as here, right? Here. First, this one will get copied here, and then this one will get copied here. But here we need to tell, what is the data type of this parameter. It's a text data type, varchar data type. It's a text kind of data, right? So that this one will get copied here, and that one will get copied here. And then finally, only the Chris's C002 is nothing but the Chris's data set, right? Record. Chris's total amount spent, only you filter it and give me that. That is what this stored procedure is doing it. Sometimes, right, we will be joining multiple tables, 4 tables or 5 tables. For some cases, we use inner join, left join, right join. That kind of situation, you do all the complex logic inside your stored procedure. But for the end user like you just need to give only one line. Execute the stored procedure parameter. That's all. You can pass more than one parameter also. That and all, we'll see it later. So with this, I'm going to wrap up the SQL Server part. Okay, and then the SQL Server part. Lastly, we have seen the stored procedure. The stored procedure, since we have used the group by, we can use it only in import mode. And how to invoke the stored procedure, that you have understood. I will share the script for the stored procedure which I used it. You can also practice it by watching my video patiently. And